Hello everyone, welcome to another video here in this channel. If this is the first time you see me and the first time you stop by, then I'll introduce myself. I'm Lily. I'm an international medical graduate from Cuba and I'm in the journey to get the GMC registration. I recently opened this channel because I wanted to document the whole journey and I wanted to share it with you. So if this is the case, welcome to this channel. If you are another one, then welcome back here. So in today's video, what I'm planning to do is to talk about my Plab 1 preparation. If you haven't seen my previous video, which by the way, if you haven't, then you should, because I have some interesting videos related to Plab 1 exam. I have one story time talking about the exam day. I have 24 hours before my preparation, and also I have one video reacting to the result of my Plab 1 exam, which fortunately I passed on my first attempt. And I'm very happy. I feel proud of myself, and yeah, I feel like quite qualified, which I'm not, to talk about this. And yeah, I wanted to share my preparation that maybe could be helpful for some of you who are starting this process. So maybe some of the information I will provide will be helpful. If that is the case, please stay here with me and let's start with this video. So, the first thing I did even before starting my preparation was to search for information related to Plab 1 exam. What was Plab 1 exam? How was the exam? How long was the exam? How was the structure of the questions? What was the pass rate? And things like that, all general information related to Plab 1 exam. And what I do recommend is to search for the most reliable source for that information, which is the GMC website. You go first there, and they even provide a 30 sample questions so you can have an idea how the exam structure is. And yeah, try those tests, and after that you can start your preparation. Additionally, I have to say that YouTube is quite helpful. There are many videos talking about Plab 1 exam and they are quite informative. So my main sources for this general information are GMC website and my main source are GMC website and YouTube. Okay, so just to recap, my exam was on May 25th of this year, and the venue of the exam was Nairobi, Kenya, and my exam was at 1 p.m. Why did I say that? That's not even relevant for this video. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, so the next step for my preparation was to search a source of Cuban questions. I was in two minds between Plabable and Med Revision, but in the end I decided to choose Plabable. I saw many comments that they are pretty much the same, but Med Revision has more questions than Plabable, but most of those questions that are extra in Med Revision are not like aimed for Plab 1 exam. So at the end, the useful questions in my revision are the same as Plabable. So that's why I decided to go with Plabable. Additionally, the fee for the subscription is cheaper in Plabable. So that's one plus reason to choose Plabable. So yeah, it's my recommendation and I highly recommend it for sure. Okay, so after choosing the Cuban questions, I knew that I needed to reinforce my theory because I was quite behind, given that I graduated from my university school 6 years ago. So as you can imagine, I'm quite behind on theory. So I knew I needed to reinforce that theory. And at the beginning of that preparation, I thought that I was going to prepare with Oxford Handbook of Clinical Specialty in Clinical Medicine, because I thought, okay, I have 7 months for preparation. Because I didn't tell you, I had 7 months to prepare for my Plab 1 exam, but the first 3 months I was not actively studying, so I have to say were 4 months of preparation, but at the end were 7. You know what I mean. So I thought, okay, I can read those books over to cover, but at the end I realized I was just wasting my time because those books are not aimed to the Plab 1 exam. So even though they provide valuable information, the information is not useful for the preparation of Plab 1 exam. Of course, you can check on those books specific information you are looking for and you cannot find in other source of information like Plabable or the revision guides in Plabable website or other notes that you have. Then you can for sure check on those books because I did it. But for a daily basis, no, do not touch them, please. So, as I couldn't continue using those books, what did I do next? Guys, literally, I wrote on Google Plab 1 preparation free materials, Plab 1 preparation, and I read all the links that appear on the first 2 pages of Google search. And yeah, at the end I found very useful material. I found Plab 1 keys, I found Plabverse notes, not the last version of Plabverse notes, but anyway, I will talk about that later. But yeah, I found Plabverse notes, I found even other notes that I didn't use in the end because they were in other languages, but yeah, I found quite good materials there. Additionally, I was joined to WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups, and suddenly one day someone posted in WhatsApp group Plabable gems. Of course, they were not the last version and they were not updated, but I used them anyway. They worked for me and I do recommend it. I will talk about that later on, but yeah, for now also I use that source of information. Okay, so to summarize, what resources did I use? I used Plabable Cuban questions, I used Plabable gems, I used Plabverse notes, and I have to say, guys, that these Plabverse notes were my life-saving during this preparation for my Plab 1 exam. They were everything I needed. They were theory, they were concise, and they were aimed to Plab 1 exam. They were just perfect, and without them, I'm sure I would not have passed my Plab 1 exam, at least not on my first attempt. So yeah, I highly recommend it, even though they were not updated, but I made them work with me because I already had at that time the Plabable subscription, and once you purchase the subscription with Plabable, then you have access to revision guides, and those revision guides, I have to say, they were also quite good, quite updated, and yeah. So for main theory, I reviewed on Plabverse note, and for management, I reviewed on the revision guides on Plabable. So yeah, for me it worked well, so I do recommend it for sure, even more if you have the updated version. Regarding Plabable gems, I have to say the gems are also quite good. They have a concise information, is updated also, but if you don't have economic resources enough to purchase additionally the Plabable gems, don't worry about that. My recommendation is, if you don't have the money to buy the Plabable gems, then read the revision guides, because Plabable is pretty much the same as the revision guides, but it's more concise, it's more direct. So yeah, so don't worry, just read the revision guide and continue with your study. Well, Plab 1 keys, I have to say that I didn't like it so much because it's pretty much the same as Plabable questions, but in this case with small explanation and repeated many times in a sense in which you can remember faster and better the answers and the questions and get familiarized with the questions. But as Plab 1 exam is not about remembering the questions or the answer, it's more about understanding the idea of the question and the answers, then it's not so helpful and it's not such a great start for preparation. But I have to say, if you cannot afford to buy a subscription on Plabable or MedRevision or any other Q1 question subscription, then I do recommend Plab Quiz because it's pretty much the same, but as I explained before, with some difference, but it's pretty much the same. So yeah. So how did I prepare with these resources that I had at that time? Well, this is what I'm going to talk about right now. In the general idea is that first I read the theory, and after that I did the questions, the Q1 questions by topic on Plabable website. So the first 3 months of my preparation, I started reading the theory, I started to write the main notes I wanted to remember and I wanted to review on later on. So I wrote it in my notebook, and is what I did the first 3 months. That's why it took me so long to finish the first round of questions of Plabable. Yeah, because I haven't told you, but I did 2 rounds of questions in Plabable. But this time I didn't answer it by myself. I answered those questions by checking the answers in my notebooks or in my notes. So afterward, what I did was to review only theory. This time I checked my notes and the Plabverse notes, and is what I did throughout the whole month. I organized with my calendar to finish it in 1 month. So after my first round of questions on Plabable and reviewing the theory, I thought it was time to do again a second round of questions in Plabable QBank, and is what I did. First, as always, I read the theory of one specific topic, and after that I started to do all those questions in Plabable, but this time I answered the questions by my own without checking the notes. And at this point I already knew which topic had the longest QBank questions. I knew which topic was the most difficult for me, so I could organize better this time, this study. So that's why I recommend a lot. Try to do a calendar and try to stick to that calendar throughout your whole preparation journey. So after finishing my second round of questions in Plabable, what I did is to review the flagged questions I had while reviewing some theory, and also I was reading the revision guides on Plabable, mainly for those topics who had complicated management, like for example asthma, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, things like that. I reinforced that theory with revision guides. I do recommend it, so try to read them, please. The last month of my preparation, I dedicated that time to do mock tests. I started with the mock tests on Plabable, and I continue with the big mock tests. There are a total of 19 mock tests in Plabable, and those tests are basically the same questions of the QBanks, but in this case are allocated randomly, and they are also time limited. So you have to solve those questions in 3 hours. In my opinion, the most useful value of these mock tests is that they are going to give you an idea how is your time management, how are you doing so far, and how can you improve it. Because apart from that, I don't think it's going to give you a real idea of how is your knowledge. Based on my own experience, I score over 90% in each of those tests, and I completed those tests in 2 hours. So at that moment I thought I was doing quite well with the time management, but I didn't trust about the score, because I knew most of the questions I did at that time. It was because I remembered from when I did it on the QBank. But anyway, it was reassuring to know that I was scoring high, because many people said that you need to score over 60% to pass your Plab exam. But of course, that's not 100% true. So what did I do next? I decided to take big mocks, and fortunately in my WhatsApp group and my Telegram groups, someone posted at some point some big mocks. The difficulty level in these big mocks is higher compared to the Cuban questions in Plab. And yeah, I found it quite helpful. In my case, I passed all those big mocks and I did it quite well. I scored around over 140 and I finished those tests in 2 hours and a half, so I had 30 minutes remaining after finishing those tests. So at that point I felt quite confident, but deep inside I was not confident. I don't know why. I was so scared of failing this exam that if you saw my story time talking about this, then you already know that why I was feeling this way. So yeah, I was not sure at all. So what did I do? The last resources I used for my preparation was the day before my examination. I did a webinar. It was called the Hardest Questions webinar, and it was booked for the day before my examination, and I did it. But honestly, I didn't notice so change in my knowledge, and I think that if I haven't done that webinar, my score would be exactly the same. Some people say that 1 or 2 questions came up from this webinar, but honestly, I don't remember it. To summarize all the information I've been talking about for around 20 minutes, first thing you should do is to search for general information, and the main and the most reliable source is the GNC website. Secondly, what you need to do is to search for a source of Cuban questions. In my case was Plab, and I don't regret it, and I do recommend it. After that, if you are recently graduated from your medical school, then in my opinion maybe you don't need other source of study apart from Plab questions and Plab revision guides. For sure you need to read the revision guides. If your case is like my case, that you graduated a long time ago and you need to reinforce your theory, I do recommend Plab's notes. If you need the resources I have, you can leave me a comment below and I will be sending to you all the information that I had and I used for my preparation. Also, Plab Gems, I do recommend it if you are the type of person who wants some theory, quite concise. Yeah, I'd recommend it. But again, if you don't have money to buy Plab Gems, don't worry, don't stress about it. Just read the revision guides in Plab website and you're going to be fine. And finally, I do recommend it to do the mock tests in Plab website, because they are going to be quite helpful if you want to give a second or a third round of questions, like was my case, instead of buying a new subscription. So is what I did. So I did again the question, and this time with time management, and it was quite good. So yeah, guys, basically all this, I do not recommend the webinars. Are not quite necessary if you already have a good preparation before that. So it's not necessary, it's not going to be a big change in your final score on the exam day. So I don't think it's quite necessary, but if you want to, you can do it, of course. So yeah, guys, this is everything. I hope the information was quite helpful. If that was the case, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any other videos that I will be posted following this one. And yeah, by the way, the next video I think is going to be about my Plab 2 preparation. That, by the way, I'm giving you a spoiler. I will not attend to any academy. I will prepare myself with free resources I will find online. So if you want to know what am I gonna do, then stay here with me, subscribe, and that's it. So see you in the next video. Bye.